Rex Heuermann, his charges are adding up. It was originally the four. Now it's not just going to five, it's going to six. Rex Heuermann charged with killing one, Jessica Taylor, whose partial remains were found near Gilgo Beach in 2011, and then linked to other partial remains found 8 years later in a remote wooded area in Marionville, a 45-minute drive east. He's also been charged with killing Sandra Costella, a 28-year-old New York woman whose remains were found in 1993 in the Hamptons, going back to the early 90s. Her long unsolved murder has not been previously associated with the Gilgo Beach investigation, but these are two new ones that have been tied on. I think we're expecting one more charge today, not necessarily two. Eric Faddis, defense attorney, former prosecutor, joining us. What do you make of the new charges against Heuermann and how they got there?
It's certainly a bombshell and chilling, and for how long has this gone on? At least multiple decades, according to the government. And it seems like there have been some new searches recently,
Mhm.
and I think that that could have contributed additional evidence that allowed the government to bring these two additional homicide charges.
How do you think they're bringing it? Because there was that 9-day canine search in the Marionville wooded area in Southampton. That's where Miss Costella's body was found. Last month, investigators also conducted a 6-day search of Mr. Heuermann's home in Massapequa Park. Again, they went back in. This was the second one. And they exhaustively searched for 2 weeks last summer through his house as well. But they went to the basement again this time. We're talking a murder from 1993. How are they connecting this to Rex Heuermann?
It's hard to say at this juncture. The government is not disclosing a ton of information about the evidence they have. But one thing I've seen before is in these additional searches, perhaps they found something in Rex Heuermann's home that connects him to these potential victims. Maybe it's a piece of clothing, maybe it's a note, maybe it's a diary. There are just a number of types of evidence that the government could use to link Rex Heuermann to these two additional cases. But like I said, presently that's just speculation. We don't know for sure.
Complete speculation. I'm wondering, and tell me if this is logistically something that could be going on behind the scenes here. There's a documentary that's being made right now with Peacock and 50 Cent. And I always feel weird saying that out loud, but it's true. Um, anyway, they're going for their jinx moment. We've talked about this many times. Do you think that there's something that maybe she said about 1993, about some things that were going on that also have been aiding in this investigation, maybe unwittingly? I mean, could the producers of this documentary be, okay, another day's done. Here you guys go. Here's basically everything, all the raw footage. You guys can go through it. Could that be happening on the back end of this that we're unaware of without a subpoena or without any sort of, legal finagling?
Yeah, Tony. I mean, who would have thought that 50 Cent would become this, true crime expose master that
Go,
he's turning
go.
into? I
It's
didn't see that
murder.
from
Yeah.
Get Rich or Die Trying, but
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
but yes, I think that's true. I think with the emergence of social media, the work you do, the work that the true crime community does, I think law enforcement's getting wise to the fact that those private investigators can provide important inculpatory evidence that can make or break a case.
If we're talking all the way back here to 93, there's a lot of bodies all over the place there. We're at six right now that are being attributed to Rex Heuermann. How far do you think this goes?
Some people are saying, are they going to get to the full 11? Most people think that there are at least 11
Hmm.
incidents that are all related, and some people believe related to Rex Heuermann. Um, you know, th- they're at six right now, which is a Herculean number of homicides to bring against a person.
Hmm.
And as the investigation unfolds, as these documentaries continue, will additional evidence link Rex Heuermann to the additional bodies? We don't know.
Is it time for Asa Ellerup to get a divorce?
I think the time would have been in the 80s, or
Yeah.
I don't know if they were married at that time, but whenever there were red flags, and I gotta imagine she saw some red flags. I don't know exactly what she saw, and I'm not saying she's involved in
Yeah.
anything, but when she saw those red flags, she should have, pulled the plug on the marriage at that point.
Is there any advantage to her staying married to this man? This is going to take forever. This is going to take years before we likely get to any sort of trial because they're going to keep uncovering more bodies. And she's saying, she made a statement recently of, he wasn't capable of doing these things. And I get, you can have that willful ignorance and your cognitive dissonance to all of it, but uh, at some point, I mean, you got to look at this and go, okay, he probably has done this. But is there an advantage to staying married as far as not having to testify against him? Would she have to testify if she does get a divorce if they're not legally married, or does that statute uh, basically exist for the term of while you were married? You don't have to testify about any of that.
Typically, it depends on the jurisdiction, but what we're talking about is spousal privilege,
Yeah.
meaning that the wife would not have to testify against Rex Heuermann. And usually that pertains to communications that were made during the marriage that the person who made them thought they were making them in confidence. Now there's an exception though to spousal privilege where if the spouse had some involvement, that is criminal and can be proven, they forfeit that privilege. And they can't get up there and say, oh gosh, I don't want to testify. Well, if there's enough evidence against them such that they have forfeited that privilege by wrongdoing, then they would have to testify. And I think the police is looking into that.
If they have assets, though, which I mean, looking at their house, you probably don't think they do, but he had a very well-paying job, so maybe they hoard the money too. If she gets divorced now, is that protect the money for her then, for her own future, versus having it in some sort of joint thing where once this is done and he's has attorney fees and owes God knows what in judgments, that could all be gone too.
Yeah, that part gets a little messy legally, but ultimately Rex Heuermann is going to be on the hook for whatever he allegedly did. Now, if his wife divorces him, and if that divorce becomes finalized, there's a property division, and she receives some of that property. She can try to secure that in a trust such that it could not be touched by
Uh-huh.
any of the victims or their estates in this case.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the next moves are here for both of them, as this just got 2 times darker than it already has been. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.